Hello, welcome to episode 3 of Red Lines and Half Spaces. I am Yeambele, your host, and obviously I've got my good friend Joseph with me. Joe, how are we doing today?
I'm very well, mate. The summer has arrived at last, so I'm
A bit too
currently
much, and it's a
yeah.
bit
My
too hot
my
there.
flat is like a sauna at the moment, so it's quite toasty
Yeah,
in here, but we're good, mate. So it's a nice change.
very, very good. And then obviously we have a little special guest with us today. So we have the legend, the internet sensation that is FKhanage from the LatteFirm. Fies, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good. This is so weird. This is so
Isn't it? It's
strange.
so
I
weird.
mean, what is going on here? Come on.
It is weird because usually it's on the other side. So Faisal is usually the host, as you all well know. I do the Friday night late night lounge with Faisal, and Faisal is the one usually doing it. Here we are, both me and Joe, hosting this one for Faisal. But here we are. Faisal, if anyone does not know who you are, where have you been? You're hiding under a rock. But do you want to tell them about yourself and a little bit about the LatteFirm, and then obviously, Joe, please ask any questions after that around the LatteFirm and the shows that Faisal's doing.
I'd be amazed if people don't know about the LatteFirm, but I'm looking forward to hearing what Faisal has to say about it. It should be quite interesting.
Nah, listen, we could always be bigger, right? The brand could always be stronger. Now, thanks for the introduction. Thanks for having me on. This is really surreal. But Yem and I have known each other since baby days. Obviously, grown up as Arsenal fans, season ticket holders, go home and away whenever we can. Personally, on Twitter, it's been just over 10 years now. FKhanage is my handle, as you can see on screen, and I decided to set up a football YouTube channel. Ooh, it's probably the 4th year now, just talking about Arsenal, talking transfers, talking reactions with fans and stuff, and it's kind of grown into a nice little community, and it's called LatteFirm. And yeah, at the moment, during the sort of close season, we've got daily shows called the Daily Grind, which is 20-25 minutes with a special guest, and it's going pretty good. So yeah, find me there. And what a weird sensation, but also a pleasure to be on this.
Faiz, can you tell us more about the Daily Grind? Because this is like your new venture, isn't it? This is a new thing you've started doing.
Yeah, pretty much. I figured that there was going to be a lot of downtime over the summer with no football, no international tournament. I know the Club World Cup's on, and we might talk about that later, but I just wanted to have a sort of daily feature where we could sort of wrap up the last 24 hours of Arsenal news, speculation, and general football news. So we've been talking about things like Thomas Frank. We've been talking about things like Manchester City's big spending, Liverpool flying out of the blocks. We've been talking about the players that Arsenal have been linked to. So different guests, different topics, daily show, and Friday night, as Yeambele says, that's the sort of bread and butter late night lounge where we just take things a little slower, a little bit easier. But yeah, so far so good. People seem engaged, and they're growing in popularity. So really pleased with it.
Yeah, mate, to be fair, I've listened to a couple of them. I'll be honest, I've not listened to all of them.
Only a couple?
I've listened to a couple. They are really good, to be fair. I do really enjoy them. So yeah, they are a nice little addition.
I caught the one. I caught the one today about the transfers, because inevitably you have to talk about the transfers. You know, with Simon Collins. Great show. Great show.
Thank you, man. And listen, we've got an absolutely awesome lineup coming up over the next sort of like 2 weeks, if I may. The likes of Elliot of the Arsenal Vision podcast on Wednesday, Michael Timms, if you guys know, live from N5, hosting, coming on Thursday. Rory Took's football, Sammy Mockbell of the BBC next week, Art de Roche and Alexander Moneypenny of the Different Knock. So loads of different guests, different opinions. And yeah, it's one of those places, if you want that sort of daily drip of Arsenal news, a fairly sensible summary, nothing sensational, check it out, LatteFirm.
Fantastic. Well, people, if you don't know where it's at, it's on YouTube, LatteFirm. Make sure you're following it. If you're not, you can't be under a rock. It's one of the biggest Arsenal channels now, and it's
don't know about that, but I appreciate the praise. Yeah, appreciate the praise. Thank you, man.
It is, and we love it. I just want to. So this show, we're going to cover transfers. Inevitably, we have to talk about transfers. We're now in the second transfer window as we record this, where no signings from Arsenal just yet, but we live in hope. But I wanted to touch on first the Club World Cup, which is ongoing at the moment. Faisal, how have you viewed the Club World Cup games initially? And I'm talking about the games. We'll talk about the concept later on and the funding, etc. Just briefly, but the games so far, we've had some of the big games have been Atletico Madrid versus PSG, which I thought was a decent game. But the problem that I see is just it's a complete mismatch in some of these games, and the pace of it looks so slow. I mean, Chelsea are ongoing at the moment. I caught a bit of it, and I thought this feels like a pre-season friendly. I mean, what do you think, Faisal?
Well, I'll start by saying that I've not watched a minute of it this summer so far. I know it started in the early hours of Sunday morning, so just a couple of days ago. The opening stages of it, are always going to be quite wide and varied. You've got the 6 federations from across the world being represented by their sort of club teams. I caught the Bayern Munich result the other night, 10-0, and I thought to myself, what is this? What is the point of this? I can see this. I can see the sort of good intention behind it, in that you get clubs from across the world to compete and play with one another. But I think it's only ever going to get interesting when you get to the last 16, last 8, semi-finals, final. So far, I've missed a lot of it. We'll talk about, whether it's right or wrong to do. But I'm not going to lie. Like, if Arsenal were in it, I'd be watching every minute. So yeah, it's the quality's not been fantastic. So I hear Chelsea, I think, are 2 or 3 up already in their game against Los Angeles. So yeah, easy days out for the Premier League teams, for the more established European teams, I would imagine.
And Joe, have you managed to catch any of the games? What do you think so far? Is it
No,
really tickled your fancy, or is it kind of like, well, this is a pointless tournament?
For our tens of listeners who we've got so far, they will have all heard me say that I had no intention of watching any of this. And so far, I've kept to that word, and I haven't watched a single minute. I saw the Bayern Munich 10-0 result, and I thought, well, what is pointless, isn't it, really? But yeah, I mean, I can't really comment. I've sort of had a look on Sky Sports when it's flashed up on there, and like sort of the headlines to see what's going on. But yeah, I've not paid a great deal of attention. But I might do, like you said, once we get down to the latter stages and they're sort of the bigger teams are playing against each other. But at the moment, it's no interest for me, unfortunately.
Do you think this is going to grow? Obviously, it is the first year of the tournament, but do you think this will grow to become a competition that people will watch and like? The problem I see here is it's at the wrong time of the year. This is like at the end of the season, people are tired of this. I get that it's in the US, this is a big market for FIFA to try and expose, and maybe it moves around. But for example, if this was in Europe, I think a lot of people would be tired of and would be a little bit hesitant about participating in this. But what do you think long term?
Well, I mean, it has been going on for a long time. It spans back more than 20 years. It's the first time in its current format where you've got 32 teams, and I think it's going to be played once every 4 years now. So it goes back a long time. United have won it, City have won it, Liverpool have won it, Real Madrid have won it, I think, 5 times in their club history. I think with the revised format and with the prize money on offer, £775 million in total prize money is crazy. The eventual winners are going to win just shy of 100 mil, which is, more than half, maybe 60-70% of Premier League takings, on par with the Champions League. 30 times more as much money than winning the FA Cup. So money will talk. It is going to become big. And it goes back to my previous point. If Arsenal were in it, I'd be all over it. But this is the best thing. I'll be waiting up until 1, 3 in the morning watching the games. So there's no doubt in my mind that this will pick up. I think they'll probably tamper with the format and the duration as they fine tune it to get to the right level. But there's no doubt that at the moment in its current format, it's not something that people really look forward to. And there's a player welfare issue. We've had personally, as Arsenal fans, we've had a very long, mentally draining, physically exhausting season. So I think we're just sort of enjoying the time off. But there's a lot of people around the world that will be tuning in and watching it. And I think for me, the curiosity, of like Boca playing City or, River Plate playing Chelsea, like teams that you're aware of in other leagues that you'll never ever come up against. I think that I find those quite intriguing. But like I say, early stages, who cares? 10-0, 15-0, like it's just, what's the point? Wait until it gets saucy.
Have you watched any of it yet, Yen?
I catch it in bits. The problem is that it's at quite, the hours are not particularly great. Obviously, it's starting to get a bit more into normal time. So I've caught bits and pieces. I didn't watch the Bayern Munich game again. That was quite late. But I've caught bits and pieces. And what I've seen so far is it feels like a preseason tournament almost. That it's a very tired, approach. The lesser teams are very enthusiastic. You can see that because obviously this is their big show. Auckland, I saw a bit of that and I thought, okay, this is the big show. But there are some things that grate me. I'm not a big fan of these individual player walkouts. Like I'm used to the whole team coming out and then lining up. I'm not used to this call out of every individual player. It feels really wrong. I know it's being done for the US audience and it's being done to really try and get it over with the US audience. I hope it's not like this in the World Cup, because if it's like this in the World...
What have the attendances been like? Have you noticed? I saw a thing the other day saying that they was having to move people in the stadium to be the outside of the camera and all that sort of stuff to make it look more full.
This evening's game is a very big example. I think it's being played in LA and it's pretty empty. I think I think for a 48,000 seater stadium, I think it's like 25 at the moment. But again, there's lots of issues surrounding that. The situation in the US, people's appetite for it, etc. I mean, Faisal, why do you think? What do you think are the reasons for low attendances? I've just given a few, but do you think there's other reasons for it?
Well, I think the opening games were well attended. Chelsea are playing in Atlanta tonight, and they're playing in a 75,000 seater stadium, of which 22,000 seats are filled. So, more than 50,000 spare seats, and there's talk of them selling the tickets for as little as $5 before the game, and obviously people just aren't doing it. You also got to bear in mind, I think, with the time difference, what is it, 9:50 here? So the game would have kicked off, 3 p.m. local time on a Monday afternoon in America? Yeah. Like, most people are at work. Like, most kids are at school. So, I mean, but then they have to do that for the televised sort of timings across the world. So they've got challenges. I mean, I don't know who would have thought Chelsea versus Los Angeles in the middle of June would have been a sellout in any crowd. But I think as they progress, as they get through to the quarters and the semis and the final, certainly they'll be completely packed, completely sold out affairs. And also, it's Chelsea, Tin Pot Club. Who's going to go and watch them?
You had to get that in at the last minute. All right, let's move on from the terrible tournament that is the CWC for the moment, where we're not participating, so we don't have any. So it's not really anything interesting.
Can I just check though? Would you guys? I know this is your show, but I've got to ask one question.
Go on.
But I mean, I am right in saying that if Arsenal were in it, our mindset would be totally different, right? We'd be raving about it, tweeting about it, waiting up to watch about it. We'd be sort of watching together at each other's houses.
I think, of course,
right,
I would be. I mean, Joe, what would you?
Yeah, I mean, reluctantly, I probably would. But here's a question upon a question for you: if Arsenal won it and got the 775 million, would we buy a centre forward?
Well, the 775 million is divided by all the teams, but if we win it, we win just shy of 100 mil, Joe.
We still won't buy a striker after that.
Yeah, I think we'll probably go and get another left back. Maybe
that's what we did. That's that money for that left back, 2 left backs even. Wow,
yeah, exactly.
That would be amazing. But yeah, I think we would watch it. I think every Arsenal fan will be tweeting about it. I think it's just because our teams are not in it. We'll see. We'll see when we get there, because obviously we will get there eventually. We will be there. Let's shift gears and talk about Arsenal, because that's what we're here for. It's an Arsenal podcast. And we're going to be talking transfers. So the transfer window has opened. As of now, when we're recording on the 16th of June, 2025, no transfers yet for Arsenal, neither incoming or outgoing, that were not announced, i.e. that we've got a few free transfers that have happened, and there's one that we already know that should be completed but has not been confirmed yet. So Faisal, I'm going to ask this question because I asked Joe this in the season review. It was kind of, summer 2024-25 was, I think, and if you think otherwise, say so, a pretty disappointing transfer window where we didn't address a lot of our issues, i.e. we didn't get the striker we wanted, and we bought pretty poorly. It wasn't what we were expecting, given that we'd had 2 second-place finishes and we were on a crest of a wave, and we thought we would challenge properly, and so would the board match that ambition. Didn't really happen, and we didn't spend in the winter window either, which was catastrophic, I think. What was your expectation coming into this window now? Are you thinking, look, we are going to address all of our problems, or do you think we're going to prioritise a striker, prioritise a few positions? How do you view this window, or what's your expectation at least?
It's a massive window, yeah. Yeah, it's a massive window for a number of reasons. I mean, you talk about the last summer window being really disappointing. We all remember what happened. We pushed Manchester City to the final weekend of the season. everyone thought, right, that's it. This is a chance now for Arsenal to make a statement and to tell City that, look, we pushed you all the way. You know, we went toe to toe with you. You're a juggernaut of a team, 4 Premier League titles back to back. We are now here to stay as a competitor, and we're going to take that next step. So, you know, when we were linked with all the forwards and we talked about keeping the powder dry, and then we ended up getting Raheem Sterling on the last day, you can imagine a massive disappointment. And actually, when you think about the other players, you know, Neto on loan, Calafiori, expensive player, but a left back, and Arteta seems to have a bit of a fetish for left backs at the minute. And with Marino, you know, brought in as a dual monster, not really a sort of marquee player. So that was massively disappointing. January, obviously lost Saka before Christmas, lost Jesus on the 12th of Jan, lost Havertz shortly after the window closed, and that really ruined us. And, you know, we had a chance to maybe bring in someone like Watkins or do something on an emergency basis. I mean, Villa brought in Rashford, Asensio. Like, there were players out there that could have maybe given us an extra 5-10 points. So this summer is massive. And, you know, the way the league unfolded, like, not really sort of a league title race challenge, didn't sustain it, sort of petered out quite early on, dumped out of both domestic cup competitions, obviously got to the Champions League semi-final, which was incredible as a journey, but trophies are the biggest currencies of the game and people just don't remember anything else. So there's massive pressure. And now, of course, Andrea Berta is there. He's arrived, new director of football. Edu left, Jason Ato moving on. Like, there's been a lot of change. There's a lot of noise around how much Arteta has spent and how much time he's had, and there's no trophies to show for it, not certainly with the squad that he's cobbled together. So, you know, we say it every summer, this is the window, but it genuinely feels like it has to be this window, or there's going to be some serious questions asked around Arteta and, hell, maybe even Berta. Like, I know it's his first window, but if he doesn't deliver based on the reputation he's got and based on the expectations that the fans and the club have, yeah, it's not a good look.
Joe, Faisal mentioned there about Andrea Berta, the expectations. What should be the expectations from Arsenal fans for Andrea Berta for this window? What should we expect? Should we be calm and say that's, you know, we should accept, you know, a similar kind of window, or should we, as Faisal said, be expecting a big window where we're trying to elevate ourselves to really get back to challenging? Because we kept the powder dry, as we call it. We didn't buy anyone in January. We have PSR room. What should we expect from the window in your mind?
Well, to be fair to Berta, I think he's in a position where, if you look at it like a player signing, Berta's been brought in, if you like, to make a difference. If you sign the centre forward to make a difference, you'd expect him to come in, score goals, make a difference. So if we put Berta in that same sort of bracket, if you like, he's got to come in and do something, hasn't he? Essentially, because, like Faisal said, we dropped the ball last summer. In the winter, didn't do anything. So, yeah, he's got. I know he's only just come in, but he's come in to be that missing piece, almost like the centre forward's going to be for us if we eventually get one. Berta, hopefully, will be the man to come in and bring in these players that we need to push us to that next level. And I think that's the reason why he was brought in. I'm sure they interviewed multiple people for this role. And the club, along with Arteta, whoever else was in this decision-making process, have decided that he is the man who is the man for that job. So essentially for me, I can see why you'd say you need to give him time. It's a new job. You should give him time to bed in and get used to it. But on the same token, you've been brought in to do a job, and the job is to push us to the next level and to get us winning a league, a Champions League. And to do that, he's going to have to bring out the big guns and make the most of all these contacts he's got. And comes with calibre. I mean, he's come from Atletico, who have challenged your Barcelonas and Real Madrids. They've challenged them for a long time now. And he's been a big part of that. I know he fell out with Simeone in the end, but he played a role in establishing Atletico, if you like, in the same sort of conversation as your Barças and your Real Madrids for league titles in recent years, and even got to a few Champions League finals. So, yeah, I don't think it's unreasonable for us to expect him to come in and push us on to the next level.
Fies, would you agree with that? I mean, this is why we paid for Berta. You know, we've taken the best, supposedly the best, one of the best, was voted Sporting Director of the Year a couple of years ago, has certainly got the pedigree behind him, and obviously replaces Edu, who has been at the club for a long time, has had some good moves, some questionable moves. Is there intense? I would class, you know, obviously you've mentioned this is an important window, but what's the pressure, do you think, on Berta? Is it from the, you know, I'm just speculating from the board, etc. Is there massive pressure on him to deliver this window because of his pedigree, because of who he is? Or do you feel that he's got a little leeway, given that he's only just joined the club?
Okay, so I'm sure during his interview process, recruitment process, he would have bigged himself up and said, right, you know, you guys are the perennial underachievers, you know, 20 years without a Premier League title, I can come in and make that difference. The board at Arsenal have always been very soft, very gentlemanly, we'll do things our way, sustainable way, be very prudent, let's not rock the boat too much, let's always be quite safe, quite risk averse. The pressure is going to come from the fans. The pressure is probably going to come from Mikel, because I genuinely believe that he's desperate to win, obviously. And the pressure will come from within the camp. I mean, you know, we've got some players who are flirting with dangerous contract situations. And if you want to hold on to the likes of Saka, Saliba, just to name two, they need to see sort of progress, you know. So there is pressure. The pressure, I think, is from the fans, though. You know, we know that this guy has a proven track record at a club that has been always the underdog, and that bodes well for us. You know, Atletico Madrid haven't got the budget that Barca and Real have got. They haven't got the pull, haven't got the aura, haven't got the endless resources, and yet he helped them get towards Premier League title, Champions League finals, and he's experienced in buying big players for big fees. So we need a bit of that. And, you know, Arsenal are quite similar to Atletico Madrid in that regard, because, you know, their Barcelona, their Real Madrid is our Chelsea, our City, our Liverpool almost. So, yeah, big job to do. And he's under a lot of pressure to perform.
So, a lot of pressure on Berta, and obviously that comes with some challenges for him. Let's talk a bit more about the transfers now, the names that have been linked, and we'll try and be as concise as possible. Obviously, we've got quite a few names being linked. Let's start inevitably with the striker position, because I think all three of us can agree that's probably the primary position. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's massive. You know, we have ended a season where we had so much hope with a central midfielder, defensive midfielder up top. And listen, I'm not gonna be annoyed at Marino. You know, he did as best as he could, and he was a bit of an unsung hero towards the end. I mean, without his numbers, I wonder where we would have sort of ended up. So desperate need of a centre forward, and someone who can accompany and complement Kai Havertz and not necessarily replace. I just think we need depth, we need quality, we need options off the bench. So, yeah, I would say priority position for us, yeah.
Joe, would you agree with that one?
Yeah, 100%, mate. So last summer we really needed a striker. In winter we really needed a striker, and then now, yeah, even more desperate for one, mate. So, like Fai said, I think we need someone to complement Havertz, not replace him. Because I think for too long we've kind of been in the mindset of we need 11 world-class players, when in reality now the game's moved on and you now need 18 world-class players, because there's so much football now. We need to rotate more. We've said in previous couple of shows, yeah, and I'm sure Pfizer's had plenty of people say it on his shows, that the big criticism of Arteta is that he doesn't rotate enough. He might argue and point to the fact that he's got a small squad, that he's had to use players out of position, that he's had to use people like, no disrespect, but Nketiah to try and get you to win a title. With all due respect to him, it's not going to happen. So, yeah, he's... I've completely just forgotten what we were talking about there.
The striker position. The striker position. Yeah.
So,
you know, that big topic that every Arsenal fan is looking towards.
It's got to be done, hasn't it? Really, it's just he needs to We need one desperately. And like I said, for the squad size and lack of rotation, we need bigger squad, more better players, and then we can compete with your likes of your Cities and people like that who have got the ability to change a squad on a weekly basis, whereas we haven't really got that luxury.
So then let's look at the candidates that we've got that we know we're linked with. And obviously we'll talk about the one that is not going to happen, which is Alexander Isak, who is probably the one that every Arsenal fan would like, but I think is unattainable, really. Valued at 150 million. Newcastle in the Champions League. Do we agree that this one is not going to happen at all? There's not really a chance. Faisal?
Faisal knows something.
Don't try. Don't
Faisal
go.
knows
Don't go.
something.
I don't know anything. I don't want to close the door because football's a funny game and things happen so fast and you just never know. And actually, I'm quite nervous about him going to Anfield, and there's good reason for that. But I think Newcastle are struggling to spend. Isak has been there. He's won them the cup. Are they going to get close to a Premier League title? No. Might they fluke another domestic cup? Maybe. Are they going to get anywhere in Europe? No. Are they likely to push the boat out and buy £200-300 million worth of players every window like they need to close the gap on City and Liverpool? And potentially Chelsea will come back, no doubt. No. So Isak knows that football is a very short career. He is absolutely admired by Liverpool and Arsenal. So I think there are some funny things that are going to happen in the transfer window this summer that might cause a chance for Isak to maybe sort of go elsewhere. I'm dreading that it will be the wrong red team in the Premier League. But yeah, I mean, look, at the moment it feels completely unrealistic, unattainable, not going to happen. But like I say, a few sales, a bit of financial pressure, maybe the player wants out, maybe the player has a moment where he realises that actually I do want to play in London or another big city or for a bigger club with a bit more heritage. Maybe we'll see something. But at the moment, yeah, very unlikely.
You might have just lit the fire. The Isak fire that everyone thought would have been well and truly extinguished. And
you know what
exclusive from FKhanage, Isak is on.
Not at all, not at all. I think what makes me nervous is that there are a lot of clubs sniffing around Liverpool players and they're willing to pay silly money because Michael Edwards is an unbelievable chief exec, unbelievable negotiator. If, let's say, Liverpool were to get 80 million for Nunez, 70 million, right? And they get, they're asking for 40 million for Kwanzaa. Imagine they get 30 mil. They're going to sell Robertson for 15, 20 mil. I mean, that right there are three players they can easily get rid of. And that's your 120 plus the money they've got in the bank to spend on Isak. And if you're Alex Isak, as amazing as Newcastle's journey has been, as good a job as Eddie Howe has done, as fantastic as the supporters are, and they're a wonderful club, right? We've been there so many times. We know what it feels like to go to St James's. Great ground, fantastic fans, lovely city, great people. When Liverpool come knocking on your door and you're at Newcastle, when Arsenal come knocking on your door and you're at Newcastle and you've spent a couple of years there, your head's going to get turned. So my biggest fear is that Liverpool somehow manage to Coutinho this summer and they will have a chance to go and do something special. Obviously, if it's just them, then I hope it doesn't happen. But yeah, I've got a very, very unusual feeling.
Joe, how do you assess Faisal's feeling of a Liverpool potential bid for Alexander Isak, combined with obviously they've just purchased Florian Wirtz? Well, the transfer is due to be completed.
The most annoying thing is it's not completely unrealistic, is it? That's the bit that hurts, is that from our perspective, we think it's done. He's not coming to Arsenal, but Liverpool you could still see Liverpool getting him, which for me I think's very frustrating, because you think if we want to be battling with Liverpool, then surely we should be in the same conversation in terms of getting him. But yeah, if we could do a whole podcast on this, but touching on the Liverpool sales, I think is a very, very good point, because didn't Zinchenko get linked with AC Milan today for like 12 million euros or something?
Yeah.
It's just
It's because he's on a crazy wage. But Joe, again, we might sell Kivior for 25, Zinchenko for 15, maybe even someone like Martinelli for 50. But Liverpool are just going to go out and get 70 or 80 million for Nunez, 50, 60 million for Luis Diaz, 30, 40 million for Kwanzaa, 10, 15 million for Robertson. Maybe one or two others. I mean, do you remember the first year they won the Premier League title? Ryan Brewster going for £25 million to Sheffield United. I mean,
But this is what I mean. How do they?
Didn't they just sell Kelleher as well for 20 million quid?
20 million. Yeah, they sold him for 20 million.
So,
That's
You
mad.
know what though?
They
I
are
would
just
say
so good at selling players.
For Kelleher, who had a very good season, I think they've got quite a good deal there. As in,
it's a good deal. Brentford bought him.
Brentford. I think Brentford have got a good deal there because Alisson had quite a long injury this year, and Kelleher stepped up. So to get like a keeper who was good enough to hold down that Liverpool number 1 shirt while Alisson was gone. So to get him for a club of Brentford stature, to bring him in for 20 million, I think they've done a really good deal there. I would have thought Liverpool would have got more for him.
I don't think he had that much on his contract anyway. They've got a very capable replacement coming in, Mamardashvili, so it's not exactly like they haven't planned. I think that Liverpool are the ones to beat. I still think they are going to be the ones to beat this season. I think it will run close, and I think hopefully we will. But why don't we talk about the
Arsenal?
two main? Let's talk about the two main protagonists that we are targeting, which is Benjamin Šeško and Victor Gyökeres. Benjamin Šeško from RB Leipzig, Victor Gyökeres from Sporting Lisbon. I think all of us could acknowledge this one it's going to come down to one of these two most likely. I think opinion is split somewhat, although it is leaning. Every day it seems to lean one way and another, and then obviously everyone's got their favourite, but we're hearing different stories about the transfers. Faiz, I mean, let's delve into you as the ITK in the room. What's the latest that you know about these two transfers at the moment individually? So let's start with Benjamin Šeško. Where do we sit with it at the moment?
So based on what we see on socials, but also Simon Collins coming on the Daily Grind today, he believes, the media believe, that we're in conversations with both clubs about both players. That doesn't mean we're going to sign both. It just means that I think Arsenal are taking a very different approach this year, where we're just going to line up all of our ducks and basically just go for the one that we want as and when the time is right for us. And I don't mind that, actually. I think you can play the camps off each other, you can play the clubs off each other, you can play the players off each other and be quite smart about it. We're also privileged in knowing that not many clubs out there are, in a position to kind of rival us. I mean, like United have had such a dreadful season. We read that Victor Gyökeres doesn't want to go there, even though Ruben Amorim is there, his former coach. So I think we've got lots of coals in the fire. Who do I think will happen? I think it will be Šeško, just because Arteta loves the project. I think he has got the higher ceiling. He's obviously younger, comes from a slightly more established and challenging league. But I'll be honest with you, I've said it. We've talked about it on LatteFirm that like either of these two come to Arsenal, we feast. Like Victor Gyökeres is a goal machine. I don't care that he's done it in the Primera division. I don't care that he's done it for Coventry or anywhere else. Like the guy has speed, he has power, he knows where the goal is, and he's got a hammer of a shot. And I know he's got a lot of penalties. He loves to run at defenders. He runs them ragged from time to time. His goals, if you look at his compilations, they are goals from all around the box, not just tap-ins. He drives into the box and shoots hard, shoots low. There are cutbacks, crosses, penalties, free kicks. Like he does the lot. Šeško, obviously not as prolific as a goal scorer, but much younger, playing in a tougher league. But also a very, very clean striker of the ball. I guess the one thing that really stands out for Šeško is his physical frame, 6'5" plus, and speed. He'd be the second fastest in the Arsenal squad. And speed is something that I've talked about that we lack, I think, not only just in transition, but just generally, like players, just, electric speed. Remember the days of Theo Walcott and Thierry Henry?
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about. When you're playing on the shoulder and someone just bursts through like that, the fear that a defender has when that player goes through on goal, that's what you want. So yeah, mate, I've said it. I think I sort of tweeted about it before. You may have seen it, where I sort of said, look, we're like someone who's been starving for 3 or 4 weeks, and we're stood at the front of the buffet line, and we're deliberating over chicken or beef. Mate, just eat. Just eat.
Where's the
Just
fish
eat.
course? Where's the
Fill
fish
your
course,
boots.
people? Come on, where's the fish course?
No,
Talk about
but
chicken or beef. Where's the fish? Where's
No,
the
but just fill
vegetarians?
your boots. Like, just eat. Don't worry about the rest. Like just go and just eat like a king, and you will enjoy it.
Joseph, as someone who's got a tactical brain and has, you know, has done the coaching, how do you view each of these striker options? You know, do we have to change for some of them? Inevitably, most strikers you do have to change. If you look at Erling Haaland, who went to Man City, that City changed the way they approach the game. How do you assess each of these striker options and the possible changes, the possible impact? Who's going to have the lead? Who's going to fit into the team best? Those kind of scenarios.
Yeah, this is the thing, I think you can say about Arsenal would need to change, but equally, I think each of them would have to adapt to the way Arsenal play. Essentially, Arsenal you saw it when there was a lot of horseshoe football, wasn't there? When unfortunately Havertz went out of the team, there was a lot of there's no real sort of proper centre forward play, if you like, and I don't think we've had that for a long time. I think both of these would offer that in abundance because essentially we'd finally have a striker who is a recognised centre forward. I think Gyökeres is the more mobile of the two from what I've seen. I think he's someone who likes to play on the shoulder a bit more, running behind. I think Gyökeres is probably someone who would be better in terms of sort of like link up, as in that kind of all-round centre forward play. But I mean, I think Fai's touched on it that Šeško's probably got a higher ceiling just because he's younger. I'll be honest, Portuguese tax does worry me somewhat.
The Darwin Núñez effect, I think. Yeah,
it always makes me feel a little bit nervous. So my personal preference, I think, would be Šeško, just because he's played in what I would deem as a more competitive league against higher caliber opposition on a more regular basis. I think both of them are going to come in and do well. I don't think there's any sort of denying that both would come in and fit in well to our side. It's just preference, really, isn't it? Do you want someone who maybe less quick but maybe sort of better on the ball, or do you want someone who's going to run in behind? I think it's kind of as simple as that, really. But for me, I think Šeško, for similar reasons that Faisal mentioned, I miss us having pace. I mean, as growing up, all I remember is Arsenal always being rapid. I mean, you can go back as Overmars, people like Anelka, Henry, Pires, Alexis, Walcott, all these. I just remember having rapid players all the time. And over the last few years, I feel like we've not had that. So I'd love us to go back to just seeing us with just pace in abundance, because essentially it's going to force the opposition to play differently against us if we have that extra ability, if you like, in our arsenal, which I think we've suffered from not having for quite a while now.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Šeško, I've been on the Šeško train for a while. I view him as the better option. I think Vicky Gyökeres' record is undeniable. He's been fantastic in the Primera Division. Again, the question marks are, he went from Coventry to the Portuguese league, became this standout player. But if he was this kind of standout talent that we all thought he was going to be, why did he not move to the Premier League? It just seems a little bit... There's question marks over whether he can replicate it. I think his desire is there. I think Clive, who we all well know from the Arsenal community, has mentioned it, that he's got the mentality of an elite striker. The question is, does he have the rest of it in terms of his positioning against Premier League defenders? He's got a lot of space within the Primera Division, and he's probably the flat track bully of the Primera Division, if we call it that. So it'd be very interesting if he did come in and what he'd do. I agree with both of you. I think Šeško feels like the more Arsenal signing. And is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know, because obviously we've had this kind of pattern for a number of years. And yes, we are improving, but do we need something a bit more, something different to move us on? But would we say, both of you, that it feels like it's more likely to be Seshko going forward? I mean, obviously Ollie Watkins is also a dark horse signing. I think he was linked with us for around 60 million. We offered 40 in the January window. Faisal, could this be one out of left field that could re-emerge, do you think?
I don't know about it being left field. I think the interest is there. The interest has been there for a while. I do think maybe the sort of ship has sailed, but Villa have some PSR trouble, so maybe they're going to have to shift someone on the cheap. I mean, look, if we ended this window with just Ollie Watkins, I think that'd be a massive disappointment. If we ended this window with Šeško, just because he's from the continent and because he's going to cost 70 million quid and because he's this 6'5" beast, and we got an Ollie Watkins, now you're cooking. Now you've got two really good options, neither of whom will expect to be the starting number 9. You got Kai Havertz in the mix as well. Maybe Gabby Jesus when he's back. Martinelli can play up top there, as Leo Trossard could play, and all of a sudden you've got Arne Slot 6 options up top, like that he had at Liverpool. Yeah. It allows Arteta to make some changes and rotate. And when you're chasing games or you're chasing a late winner, because we saw so many times last season, like you look to the bench and your heart sinks because you've got 2 goalkeepers, 3 left backs, a couple of kids, and Raheem Sterling, and you're just like, what are we doing? What are we? 2025, we're going for a Premier League title, and that's our bench. Like it's farcical, really. I mean, it's negligence. So for me, the statement is get one of Šeško and Gyökeres, or get both Šeško and Gyökeres, plus or one of them plus a Watkins, and then you've upped the level, you've upped the game massively.
On that topic, and sort of probably going to move on to what you've probably got planned next year, would you rather Arsenal signed a Šeško and Gyökeres, or would you prefer Arsenal to get one of the two and then get the left winger? What do you think? Would you prefer 2 world-class centre-forwards, or do you think that left winger is as important?
I'll let Faisal go with this one.
No, he asked you. You haven't gone.
No, it's both of us. For me, I think one of the standout one of the striker targets and left winger, because I think we need depth cover on the wings. I think we struggled this year when Saka and Martinelli are out. Trossard is not a winger; he's an inside forward for me. Sterling, that was a catastrophic signing. It looked good at the start. That quickly went away after a game. We need cover on the wing to give us variation. I think in the ideal world, I would love Watkins, a striker, and the winger, but the money that involved in those kind of transfers is not feasible. So for me, a left winger who can play ideally both wings, and then a striker of note, either Šeško or Gyökeres. Faisal, go on. Your turn.
I'm not going to be mad if we sign Gyökeres and Šeško. Let's make that clear. And I also think Gyökeres can play out wide. So, he loves to carry the ball from left, from right, and he loves to go on those sort of slaloming runs. And if I had to, that wouldn't be a problem. I think, though, depending on who the wide player is, if it's Rodrigo, how can you say no to someone like Rodrigo? He's won the lot, good age, technically fantastic. He's going to move the needle for Arsenal, no doubt, but he costs a lot of money. If it's going to be someone like, let's say, Mitoma or Eze or Ademola Lookman or maybe Antoine Semenyo, like none of those players, they're all good players, but none of those players jump out to me as like, oh my God, they are going to put Martinelli on that bench forever and they are going to elevate us to that next level. So in that situation, I'd much rather we just went out and got Šeško and Gyökeres. I mean, they're the 2 biggest gunmen in the game that are available. Just go out and buy them both, because what you do, you also weaken our opposition clubs who might be sniffing around looking at either of those 2. So for me, it was very much dependent on the caliber. Yeah. Now listen, I'm no scout. I don't have the data. Arsenal should have been, and they will have been, tracking wide players all over the world for years. They should have a list of 5, 10, 15, 20, category A, category B, or however you want to sort of like distinguish. They should have a number of people that they are talking to. If Rodrigo is the best and he's available, go get him. If he's not, and we're looking at some of the names that I've just mentioned to you, there's a curveball as well that I would chuck in, but I'm scared of you two abusing me, so I won't.
Come on, Fires. This
Go
is
on, you're going to have to do it. Now you've said it, you have to
can't
do
say
it
that
now.
and then not do it.
Right, hear me out, yeah? Hear me
If
out.
it's Raheem Sterling, I'm out.
It's not Raheem. It's not Raheem. He goes by the name of Alejandro Garnacho.
Oh, God.
I'm telling you, he's a really good player. Head's not right. 20 years old, wants to leave United, will leave United. 38 goals and assists in 18 months. He's quick. He's talented. He's got a great finish on him. We could do a lot worse than spend 25, 30 million quid on Garnacho.
Do you think that we could get him for 25, 30?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Garnacho?
Yeah. He'd want a ridiculous wage as well. Maybe, you know, even if it was as crazy as 40 mil, mate, get it done. 20 years old, he's talented. The boy is good. His head's not right. He needs a new change. Sometimes you need to leave a toxic ex to realise how happy you can be.
Toxic ex.
I'm telling you, sometimes players just need new environments. And
so, would you take Rashford then?
I think Rashford's probably not the right age profile. I think he's a good player. When I said it earlier about, you know, well, Villa went out and got Rashford on loan for 6 months. Like, if there was no time, we could have done that. We could have taken Rashford on loan just for 6 months. I'm not saying buy him. I'm not saying commit, you know, an obligation to buy. Just as someone on the bench, Joe. We brought on Kieran Tierney in games to change the game.
I don't think we could have, though, could we? Because we had our 2 Premier League loans, didn't we? So I think that rules out of the...
Yeah, true. So actually, that's a moot point. But, like, as a player...
Yeah, no, I understand.
Like, I think he could have been useful in the squad. I personally think the Premier League is sleeping on Garnacho, and I think he'll just like McTominay, he'll go and rip up another country, another club.
Okay, so since we've touched on it, let's touch on our wide options. We just talked about Rodrigo, Real Madrid, Champions League winner, 80 million, supposedly. It's unsure whether he has a place in Xabi Alonso's squad. They have just signed Mastertuano from River Plate, who plays in the right wing.
Top player.
He looks like he's going to be sensational. You know, plays from the right wing, left-footed, which is what Xabi Alonso wants. Does it fit? So you've touched on it, Faiz, already, but I want to draw a comparison that I think a lot of people have done. Do you feel this is, if we can get this one over the line, it would be almost like a Alexis Sanchez-like signing in terms of...
Well, Rodrigo,
in terms of changing our club. You know, when Alexis Sanchez signed for us, it was almost transformative in terms of how we...
Okay, so there's two different questions there. I think he would be transformative because he's a phenomenal player, no doubt. Technically fantastic, quick, versatile left wing, right wing, aggressive dribbler, chance creation machine, good finisher. He would be transformative in that we are so weak out wide beyond Saka, it's unbelievable, right? So yeah, absolutely, great signing. Do I think he would have the same impact when we signed Alexis and Mesut? Oh, I just want to smile when I talk about those two. But when we signed those two, that was, I think, the first time in certainly my Arsenal supporting life that we paid for. Sol Campbell was obviously before, that we paid for world beaters. Like, you know, we bought Thierry Henry, he was a flop. We bought Dennis Bergkamp, he was a flop. We bought Robert Pires, who was, you know, albeit actually doing quite well. You know, you had unknowns and the likes of Hleb and so many other players. Vieira was a kid, Anelka was a kid. Like, we went to Real Madrid and bought the best creative midfielder in the world. We went to Barcelona and nabbed one of the best wide players in the world, and they both returned insane moments for us. I think Rodrigo would have that impact in terms of output, but the first part of your question around would it have that same sort of feeling, that same sort of impact? No, probably not. I think Alexis and Mesut, given where we were the two marquee signings, and I think we'll always treasure those days in when we signed them too, because they were, oh wow, just, you know, wow.
he's gone. He's gone.
Yeah, mate. I mean, we're lucky.
Alexis was
he was electric, wasn't he? I mean,
I still find myself sometimes now like
watching his goals,
just compilations of Alexis at Arsenal, and
he was wild. He was wildly good.
You know what? It just makes
I think people forget the variety of his goals was sensational.
He was unreal. The saddest, can you imagine him in this squad?
Oh, mate, can you imagine
on one side?
Can you imagine Ozil next to Ødegaard? There's two creative eights. I mean, wow. Like, you can never have too many good players. And I think that's a really important point, Yem. I know we're talking about transfers, but like, it shouldn't be a club of Arsenal size in 2025, given everything we've done with the stadium and all that sort of stuff. And Arsene Wenger built the stadium brick by brick, blah, 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 blah. Like, we shouldn't be debating over one or the other.
Exactly.
We should be stack the bench, have 6-7 players on that bench that any of them can come on and make a difference for this team. Like, the mentality shouldn't be like, let's protect Dalman, let's protect, you know, Tomiyasu. Like, the mentality should be, look, you're either fit and a ceiling raiser or you're not. Like, days are numbered.
Well, as you know, we're a team who have now got to the semi-finals of Champions League, who compete regularly at the top end of the Premier League. I think we've done that on a shoestring almost. You know, to your point, we are not well versed off the bench, and I think it's one of our biggest problems, especially with Mikel, that he doesn't rotate the squad enough, or doesn't trust the squad enough, or it's not good enough. We need better off the bench to really push on to those next levels, because we've been, you know, really burning our players out. Joe, just coming back to Rodrigo and the questions I asked Faisal, how do you view it? Is it transformative, or is it a very good signing that will, you know, impact the team greatly?
I'd be tempted to say, to have the same impact as Alexis is difficult, because I think straight away you're putting so much pressure on Rodrigo to come in and do what Alexis. And to be fair,
he's a Champions League winner. He's a multiple times La Liga.
What Alexis delivered for Arsenal in terms of performances when he first arrived, he was different.
But shouldn't that pressure be on Rodrigo as well? He wants to be the man. He's come from arguably the biggest club in the world. He should be.
I mean, yeah, potentially, but equally, would we then be masters of our own downfall if we decide to load so much pressure onto this new left winger we've got? And then we've seen players come over and struggle to adapt. Yeah, I mean, it can take 6 months, whatever. Are we then going to write him off after 6 months and say, "Oh, he's not the left wing we thought he was going to be," and they'll start coping him?
Arsenal fans will, because Arsenal fans love that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think that he would be a fantastic signing for us. I think his profile is exactly what this team needs. Again, pace, has done it on the highest level. Played for one of the biggest clubs, well, the biggest club in the world. To come to Arsenal, his profile would be increased, I think, in terms of he would be one of the main men at Arsenal, whereas at the moment he feels a bit of one of the side men, if you like, in that Real Madrid team with the players they've got. And that new squad status for him could make him, or it could break him. We don't know. That's the chance you take when you buy these players. But I would be fairly confident he would come in and do well. Mainly because I find, this could be misplaced, but for me, I find that South American players seem to have that they seem to do well in the Premier League. They sort of come in and they're ready for the rough and tumble of it. They don't mind that sort of mixing up a bit. Whether that comes from the sort of the battles they have, Brazil, Argentina, and them sort of games are always quite feisty, aren't they? So whether they're sort of a bit more in tune with it and a bit more ready for it. But yeah, I think Rodrigo would come in, and I think he could certainly take the starting spot off of Martinelli. And then you're looking at Martinelli as a backup option,
that's a pretty good one.
Yeah, I mean, no other team is going to have them kind of options, are they? And like I said, Rodrigo's operated on the right as well. So if Saka was to need a rest or got injured again, God forbid, Rodrigo, he can go on the right-hand side and do the business, because he's done it on the right-hand side for Real Madrid. Obviously, he prefer to play on the left. We need a left winger. So, yeah, it all just seems to have a nice synergy about it, and he could come in and fill exactly the spot that we need, mate, which would be beautiful.
So then let's go to the other major option that we've been flirting with, but I think it's not going to happen given that he's got a preference for a particular club, which is Nico Williams. We have chased this boy for about 3 to 4 years. You know, he's a fabulous player, burst into the, in the Euros, and absolutely, was a major part of Spain's victory at the Euros. He is, I think he's 22, he's 20-ish, isn't it? He's 20. Comes from Atletico Bilbao. Has got a release clause of about 56 million euros. So that's obviously a palatable price, although it has to be paid up front by La Liga rules. The big stumbling block is obviously Bilbao have a tax-free status, so they don't pay tax on their earnings. And he's on a fairly high wage because Bilbao tend to give their players very high wages to stop them from moving. Fies, in the last couple of days, it just feels like this one is not going to be possible because I think Barcelona have now started to exert what Barcelona usually do, which is that we're going to buy this player. Whether they can actually afford it is another matter, but it just feels like, given that he's dropping his wage demands, which we've never heard of with us, does this feel like this one is not really even in our stratosphere at the moment in terms of he just doesn't want to join us?
I don't know if he doesn't want to join us. I think, any young player would want to come to London and play for one of the biggest clubs in the world. I do think this is a boy who obviously plays for his national team in Spain. He's quite settled at Athletic Club. Barcelona, obviously a massive club for any boy born and bred in Spain. He's 22 years of age. I think Barca are moving nicely, and to go and play with Lamine Yamal would be a big pull for anyone because he's just got that aura about him already. So I can't knock him for wanting to do that. I'm actually quite glad that I think if this saga sort of ends fairly soon, then it allows us to not, dick about and pursue someone who was never really going to join us. Like I think we've seen too many windows where you pursue, and then last day you just settle for plan P. Do you know what I mean? Not even plan B or C. It's just like so low.
Plan P being Raheem Sterling, effectively.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing. We can't afford to do that. So I think we've probably knocked on the door. We've probably thought about him. Fee is decent because it's 55 and a bit million quid. Wages, like you say, 300 grand a week, would automatically be our highest paid player alongside Saka and potentially Saliba. Is he that good? You're talking about a guy who's played 30 times in La Liga this season and scored 5 goals. So, hasn't quite got the numbers to back it yet. Has got the hype because La Liga rate him that way, and obviously he's one of Spain's prodigal sons. But Barcelona probably feels like the right place for him. Yeah, so that's just how I feel. I mean, if it was going to be 50 million on him or 50 million on, let's say, a Brian Mbeumo, I'd be going Mbeumo. Premier League.
Really?
Yeah. I think Nico Williams has brilliant moments and he's got all the technical gift. But I think there is a lot to be said about Premier League proven players that are ready. I think, United used to do it under Sir Alex. Liverpool have done it. Your Sadio Mane's, your Mo Salah's, people that have played in the Premier League, that have acclimatized, which is why Victor Gyökeres appeals to me. He's played in the Championship. That is no easy ride. You could argue that it's physically more intimidating, more challenging to go to, questionable surfaces, really tight-knit grounds up and down the country. 46 games a season, I think the Championship is. So, Brian Mbeumo is a guy who's got 20 Premier League goals for Brentford. I mean, 25 years of age, would have 50k salary at the moment.
He's asking for a lot more. He's asking for a lot more by.
Of course, well, he knows the Spurs are desperate and United are stupid. So, we could have trebled, quadrupled his wage, and he wouldn't have been anywhere near our highest paid players, and he would have, played for 5 years. The only problem with Brian Mbeumo is that he's predominantly a right-sided player. So, yeah, for me, I don't think Nico Williams is the one. Obviously, a great player, will go on to do amazing things with Barca, but I'm just pleased it's going to be put to bed.
It looks like it's going to be done sooner rather than later because as I just checked Twitter. Apparently, La Liga, Barcelona have asked La Liga how they're going to pay it because obviously Barcelona can't pay 50.
Good old friends, Barcelona, they'll find a way.
Pull a lever somewhere, another lever and all that. Joe, just to touch on.
Sorry, it's quite interesting, Fies. You mentioned stats, so I did a little bit of research into this because so we went with the Williams and Rodrigo, both La Liga. So in La Liga, Williams 2,000 minutes this season, 5 goals, 5 assists. Successful dribbles per 90 was just over 3. Chances created 1.8. So would you, before I tell you Rodrigo, would you expect him to be similar or higher or lower than that, sort of as a rough?
I would expect Rodrigo to have higher chance creation, but not as many dribbles. And I would expect Rodrigo to have more goals. I mean,
he hasn't played that. He hasn't played.
Yeah, they played Vinicius and Mbappe, haven't they?
And Bellingham.
Maybe on par.
So Rodrigo similar minutes. So he had 1,937. So he's only had about an hour less. 6 goals, 5 assists. So he's only got 1 more goal.
Okay, good.
Successful dribbles, 2.2. So
not as many as Nico.
Not as many, but chance created also 2.2. So it's a little bit higher. So, but in terms of stats wise, there's not an awful lot between them.
There's not,
which I
but
found was quite interesting because just thinking about it, I thought Rodrigo would have more goals, more assists, but there really isn't much between them at all.
Yeah, there's a golfing quality in the two teams. So one's at Real Madrid, you'd expect Rodrigo to be stat padding, but obviously not. So there you go.
He doesn't play as many minutes as Nico. In terms of is he the out and out goal scorer? I mean, Nico Williams' minutes have come. He's lost a lot of minutes through injury. And Rodrigo doesn't play enough. He's considered almost a substitute, isn't he? He's not the main man in that 3-man attack. With Mbappe joining. So I think there is certain mitigations for each of them, but they are fabulous. Both of them are fabulous players, and I think if we could get Rodrigo, it would certainly be a welcome addition. I want to switch gears because obviously we've talked about wingers quite a bit, and obviously there are loads of options. Let's go into the midfield. We have. Obviously, there is one signing that I'm 99% assured of that should be done, which is Martin Zubimendi from Real Sociedad. Obviously, the Real Madrid marker obviously trying to do their best with a Operation Zubimendi or Zubimendi listens to Madrid. I don't think he did listen to them. I think he just said, "Thank you, I've already moved." But there's a door over there. But Faiz. Zubimendi, this was done a while ago. We knew that it was going to be done. Obviously, there was a slight panic from some of these Arsenal fans who do jump quite quickly. But happy with the signing or the future signing of Zubimendi?
Yeah, I mean, in isolation, he's a really good player. Plays for Spain. Technically, very, very sound. And when you think about Jorginho and what he was supposed to have been, and Jorginho at his peak, a ball recycler, sits deep, can control the tempo and ping balls left, right, long, short, over the top, down the lane. Zubimendi can do all of that. And I think he's going to be a really good addition to the team. What I'm a little bit nervous about is that if it's just Zubimendi, then we don't really have as much power and speed through the centre that I want. So Declan Rice, we know what he can do. There's no way he's going to last a third season playing every game. It's just not going to happen. He needs to rest. He's the only one, though, in that team that can carry that ball the way he does and eat up the grass. Zubimendi's going to sit there like a quarterback, just, recycle. I imagine Zubimendi like a little volume dial. Like when we need to speed things up, when we need to go a little bit higher, when you need to be a little bit creative, maybe even crash the box, he sort of just raises the tempo and he'll dictate from deep. I don't see him carrying the ball 30-40 yards, galloping runs through the midfield, and I just think whether Partey stays or not, a Morgan Rogers would be really, really useful. But yeah, look, I can't knock it. Zubimendi's a technically very, very good player, good age profile, reasonably inexpensive. He's got a release clause that can be amortized, so they're not expecting all the money on day one. So financially, it kind of suits us, and the whole Spanish link, Arteta. He's like a younger, better version of Mikel. So that's what I'm looking for.
No, not Mikel. Mikel was superb.
He was amazing. He was amazing.
That hair was.
But I mean, you're talking about one of the best prospects in the game. Bayern wanted him, Real wanted him, Liverpool wanted him, but when Arsenal knock, what I'm saying. Yeah.
I mean, Joe, let's just touch on Zubimendi for you. Good signing?
As long as it goes through, mate. Yeah, I mean, I still have nightmares about Jan and Villa and Gonzalo Higuain. So until I see Zubimendi stood with the Arsenal shirt in his hand, I shan't get too excited. But no, good signing, mate. Like I think Faisal's nailed it again. It's just with the volume dial analogy, brilliant. I think that's exactly what he'll do. He'll come in, he'll sit in there and just dictate games. Would
you agree with Faisal that? But even then, we lack. Do you think we need another midfielder?
Yeah. Because I'm not being funny. Like you said, if Partey stays or goes, okay, fine. I'd like to think that Partey, if he does stay, would fulfil the Jorginho role this year of just sitting on the bench and coming in and out as and when. But I definitely think there's room for a different profile of player. We've got a lot of players who can pass the ball. A lot of players were very tidy on the ball, but like I said, Morgan Rogers, complete different profile, and someone like that, sort of robust, can carry the ball, can get in the box, can finish. I'd really like a Morgan Rogers signing, to be honest. I think there's plenty of room for different profiles in our squad, because I think a big criticism from me is that we can be quite predictable. I think when you see our lineups, you can often, well, we can especially, we often know how the game's going to unfold from a playing point of view anyway. So I'm a big advocate of having players and multiple different styles, just because you need so many different types of play. The games change in an instant, so to be able to be flexible and change mid-game, change from game to game, I think there's a lot to be said for that. So yeah, I'd definitely like to see Morgan Rogers would be, if we have the money available after we go and get our 3 left backs, a centre forward and a winger, then I'd definitely like to see Morgan Rogers come in. Be a great signing, I think.
But Joe, you obviously your coaching background, you know that the football we play is often in front of the opposition, right? And we try and work it round. We go down the left, we go down the right, we try and cut back, we try and cross. Sometimes we go centrally if Odegaard's on his game. But when you can't do that with the ball, when you're up against a really stubborn, deep, low block, whatever you want to call it, sometimes you just need players that will just run through teams. And what comes to Vieira, Gilberto come to mind. Gilberto not so much, but Vieira, Yaya Toure, where players just bounce off them, trying to. It's like any opposition player coming up against Yaya Toure is like Scrappy Doo. Just let me at him, and they bounce. He just pushes, barges them out of the way, sort of lifts them up and puts them over there. And I think Rice has got a bit of that. And I just feel that there are going to be games where again we come up against some really stubborn teams and they sit everyone behind it and they say, right, Arsenal, just play. And you're not going to always be able to play technically through them. So you just need you need power to just go straight through them. And I think, imagine being a team and you're playing against Arsenal and you line up you're lining up against Odegaard. He's got all the trickery and whatnot in the world. You've got maybe Sesko, 6'5" frame, and you've got Rice and Rogers running at you. There's no, do you know what I mean?
That changes everything.
It does.
A lot of times, and a lot of the more frustrating games watching Arsenal is when we do begin to try and pass our way through teams, because it's very easy for a well-organised defence to, as long as you can stay concentrated for 90 minutes, it's very comfortable sometimes watching, because you can just mirror the ball essentially with your sort of your back four, your midfield 5, or however you're doing it. As long as you keep your gaps tight and the team all move as one across the pitch and move out and press in the right sort of scenarios, you can quite easily defend that. And we've seen that at times. We just pass side to side and there's never that cutting edge. And that's where we really struggle. So you need players who can commit a player. So someone who can get on the ball, drive at someone, beat them, and straight away then someone else has got to move out of their position to come over and affect the ball. That then opens up a position elsewhere. And that's when you start creating the chaos and creating space for players like Odegaard, for Saka to thrive in. A lot of the time last year, we was pass, and the team, you could see they would just stand off us, just watch it side to side. And when it came in anywhere near, then they'd just squeeze it, get the ball, and off they go. It was frustrating at times, and I think that was a big criticism towards the end of Arsene, God bless him, his reign, was that we became very, very easy, very predictable, very easy to defend against. And I think Mikel, having played in that side, will be very wary of that. And I think, and that's probably why he's signing players who are only over 6 foot, because the team he played in was full of diminutive little creative geniuses, wasn't it? And it's almost like he's got PTSD from that squad and he's decided, right, everyone's got to be 6 foot plus and we've all got to be monsters.
So for both of you, a box crasher like a Morgan Rogers would be a welcome addition, just to change how things are.
But it's more than that, Yem. Respectfully, Mikel Merino's, I think, one of the best box crashers in the game, and he has been last season, the year before. You look at his stats, you look at those charts that people do, and he's always plotted top right. Phenomenal. But he lacks. He's too touch heavy. He's too slow. He's not mobile enough. He's not strong enough. Morgan Rogers has got the lot. He's young, energetic, unbelievable engine. box to box endurance athlete, physically strong, robust, like carries the ball, runs at pace. He's a younger Scott McTominay. He's absolutely. What are you laughing for? You know
You're
what?
Scott
You lot,
McTominay. Do
you
you know
lot, the
what?
whole world needs to wake up to Scott McTominay. I've been saying this for 2-3 years. The guy is an athlete. And you know what? When he was young, he trained as a finisher. And that's why, so he used, I mean, you talk about box crashes, he's the best in the game. The number of times that he bailed out a terrible United team, last minute equalizers, you know it. We always used to WhatsApp each other. Fucking McTominay
first
again.
Garnacho, now McTominay. You a Man United sort of aficionado? Or?
Listen, all I'm saying, I know the game, Joe. I know the game. I talk about what I see.
Look, Faisal's take
United
is
have got some.
Max Aarons. I'm just going to come back to Max Aarons, who's gone to Rangers today as your biggest.
Listen. We've all had. I've still got the £100 million wish list show that we did. You had like Josh Doig at left back and Yeambele. I mean, your list was pathetic. So don't even get me started on that. But look, there's always been players that don't quite work out, but I think McTominay and in particular Rodgers, that's the sort of profile that I want. Again, we joke about McSauce, but 6'4", gets goals and does not stop running, gallops through the grass like he's just a midfield powerhouse. And to be voted Italian Footballer of the Year, MVP at Napoli, to win the Scudetto is unbelievable for that kid. And so, like I say, sometimes you just need a fresh environment. Sometimes you need a manager and a team that believe in you and play the best, get the best out of you. And I just feel Morgan Rodgers could be unbelievable at Arsenal.
Okay. Oh, that's fair. Let's switch targets. Let's switch gears a little bit to the targets that we also have as well. Kepa has been targeted for 5 million, coming as a second goalkeeper. Obviously, we were linked with Juan Garcia, who has now moved to Barcelona. He was originally touted about 25 million release clause. For me, this feels like a smart deal because, although we slate Kepa for, he was once the world's, highest valued goalkeeper and hasn't really reached those heights. Did well for Bournemouth last year, didn't do too badly, and it just feels like it's an astute signing. Would you say, Joe?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Because if he wasn't coming from Chelsea, I feel like everyone would be happy with this deal. There wouldn't be any questions asked. But because we've dabbled previously with some Chelsea property that wasn't at its finest, shall we say, there's a bit of a hangover. But no, I think taking away the Chelsea PTSD, if you like, I think it's a very smart deal. Obviously, once upon a time, the world's most expensive goalkeeper, Spanish international. Like you said, had a very good season at Bournemouth last year. 5 million in the current market is next to nothing, really, I would suggest. So no, I think it's a deal that makes sense, and it's a deal that we get a bit of quality in a position where we are lacking massively. And on top of that, it shouldn't affect our ability to then push on and get the world beaters we need in the attacking positions as well. So no, I don't think you can knock it, mate. For like I said, £5 million is it's a bit of a steal, really, isn't it?
Vice, would you agree with that? Astute buy?
Yeah, mate, it makes a lot of sense. We just talked about the £100 million wish list, right? So sometimes you just need players that are going to be a low fee, reasonable wage, and just be happy as part of the squad. I was a little bit nervous is the wrong word. I was intrigued as to what Arteta was going to do with Joan Garcia. Like, are we really going to bin, a back-to-back Golden Glove winner after 2 years? But then he did that to Ramsdale, and we all had a soft spot for him. So, look, I'm not here to question the gaffer, but £5 million, Premier League proven, 30 years of age. He's got 5, 6, 7, 8 years ahead of him. Comfortable number 2. We'll get on with Kanya, goalkeeping coach. Obviously speaks Spanish. And Bournemouth, their best defensive record in their Premier League history last season. And Kepa was a big part of that. So no problems with that at all if it goes through.
Okay, fair enough. Then let's move into other transfers. So Faisal, you actually did a little feature on Jorel Hato, who has been linked for a number of years with us. Left back, left centre back, young, one of the highest rated defenders, youth defenders in the world. Is this a case of, obviously we're losing a lot of left backs. We're losing, we're losing obviously Kieran Tierney. Zinchenko probably is on the way out, we feel. But do we do you feel this is something that we should be looking at, another, left back slash left centre back, really, to round out our transfer window effectively?
I think we need another left back because Tierney's gone and he got some game time towards the end of the season. Zinchenko's probably going to go. I would be open to a move to Kivior if that left back can play left centre back. And what do we have in Jarell Hato? Exactly that. In Jarell Hato, I think you've got one of the most promising, aggressive, talented, controlled defensive players in the next generation of football. Like, A, to make it at Ajax, you can't be a mug. B, to be captain at such a young age. And if it's, 30, 40 million quid, I know Liverpool is sniffing around. I think there are some players you just have to move for. And if we were to get him, all of a sudden you'll have Miles Lewis-Skelly, Jarell Hato and Ricky Calafiori as your sort of left-back options, left centre-back options with Gabriel. And then the right-hand side, you've got Timber, you've got you've got Ben White, you've got Saliba. I mean, mate, that is stacked as you can get at the back. And Hato is an athlete. He gobbles up the ground. He's strong, aggressive. I just love him. Age profile, he's the right as well for us. All Uncle Urian's got to do is just call him up. Hey, my boy, come to London. Come and play here. Be like your unks. But what a player he'd be. I love the boy. I remember tweeting about 2.5 years ago that we were interested in him because I heard something, and obviously hasn't happened yet, but we're still there in the background. We have got some interest in him.
Is this going to get to Jan and Veer levels effectively? We're waiting for Jarell
No, I don't
Hato
think so.
to happen.
No, I don't think so. But I think I just put Hato into Google search, and like The Sun, MSN, Team Talk, TBR Football, whoever these people are all saying that Arsenal are closing in on a £30 million move for Hato. So if this guy is the one, I'd be delighted.
Joe, would you be happy with Hato as an option?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's another. On top of all that, he's just another sort of machine. I think he played over 4,000 minutes this year for Ajax. Obviously shows how robust he is. I know Dutch league's not Premier League, but still to play over 4,000 minutes. I mean, I think that's what Ben White done last season, and he was pretty much in the team every competition every week. So no, it shows he's robust. It shows that he can cope with that amount of minutes, which is good. And yeah, like I said, it's someone, if we are losing, Tierney's gone, Zinchenko, hopefully, in my opinion, will go. Kivior potentially going as well, then there's definitely room for a player like that in the squad. And like I said, if we can make 25 for Kivior and then we're only spending 30 on Hato, or 35, whatever it may be, seems like a bit of a no-brainer to me. You go and do that deal straight away.
Fair enough. Are there any other transfers, Faisal, that you think, look, this one could happen, this one's got a strong link? It may not be something that we need, but
ITK, here we go.
I know we've got the goat here, so we have to.
Don't know about that.
We've got to use it where we've got him.
No, I think, look, if we're thinking about working our way back to front, right? So you've got Kepa, reserve goalkeeper, ticking the box, 5 million, beautiful. Zubimendi, £50 million, amortised over 3-5 years, whatever it's going to be. 25 years of age, decent wage. He's going to be a first team player. Fantastic. Either of Šeško, Gyökeres, great. If we can get a wide man in Rodrigo, super. If it happens to be someone like a Semenyo or a level down, I'm not going to complain. If it's at the cost of either Šeško or Gyökeres, I might have something different to say about it. I'd like a left back. I think if we can shift Zinchenko, Tierney's obviously off the wage books, and he was quite well paid, to be fair, Kieran Tierney. And if Kivior, if there's a big offer for him, 30, 35 million quid, go for it. Bring in Hato, happy with that. I still think we're one midfielder short. I'd love to see Arsenal go and knock on the door of Villa if they've still got their PSR issues and think about Morgan Rogers, because why not? Very rare that you get players of that sort of physical profile. So, no, I mean, look, if we were to nail all of those positions and get all of those players, I mean, how fantastic summer that would be. And then you would hope that Arteta and the coaching team have learnt about the importance of rotation and where we picked up our soft tissue injuries from last year, and if we can rotate better and keep some players fresh and get a full season out of Odegaard, full season out of Havertz, this break's going to do us wonders. Like, there's a lot of talk about the Club World Cup, but Chelsea and City, I think, are going to struggle. They come back 2 weeks into pre-season, which is wild, because you think they're going to go far, right? So yeah, look, I still maintain it though. Curveball. We should make that move, man. We should make that move. Alejandro Garnacho.
Oh my God, he's got a song as well already. This is awful. Honestly,
do you know what? I'm going to tweet it tonight. That's it. I'm going to start the Alejandro.
Oh, people! I'm going to grab the video. I'm going to grab the video
Movement.
of this, and I'm going to put it on. I'll send it to you just for you to.
Do it, mate. Do what you got to do.
Joe,
I believe in you, Alejandro. I believe in you. I know you're that one person on TikTok.
Joseph, Alejandro Garnacho chat aside, would you agree with what Faisal said in terms of the buys that we need to look at for this window?
Yeah, mate, 100%. Like we said, goalkeeper needed. Neto gave me my moment of the season last year, trying to save a shot outside the box, which was magical.
Ridiculous.
But no, we need goalkeeper.
If your goalkeeper doesn't do that, if he doesn't do that, then what's the point? If your second goalkeeper doesn't do that, why are you here?
No, goalkeeper definitely needed. Kepa hopefully solves that issue. Need a more reliable, higher quality sort of left back, left centre back, which hopefully Hato would be. Midfield, Zubimendi sounds like it's pretty much done. Like Fire said, would like one more. Morgan Rogers being the absolute dream, but I think he's probably going to be, for this summer, too much for what we need. And yeah, we need to get that centre forward. Need to get a left winger, preferably as well. If we can add all them to what we had, hopefully have a bit more luck with injuries this year. Like Fire says as well, hopefully Mikel has learnt from last year that rotation is key, and not burning players out by playing them 90 minutes when it's not necessary all the time will be a massive factor, I think, on what shape our season takes on. But yeah, I think, those 4 or 5 positions, it seems like a lot, but with the signing of Kepa at 5 million, then it seems a bit more reasonable. It doesn't seem like so much of a task.
If we can make sales as well, that's the thing. It's going to, we'll still make some sales.
If we can be like Liverpool and get actual value for money for our players, that'd be great, rather than selling everyone for 5 and 10 million euros.
Or free in some cases, as obviously Edu's done. Last question before we end the show. We have not made a signing yet. I think the fan base are edgy, is a word I would call it. Are you guys worried? Or are we talking about, look, I think there's some factors for me personally. The 1st of July is an accounting period where clubs like to put their purchases for the next PSR year. So I think that's one area. I think as well, the Club World Cup kind of distorted the transfer window a little bit, because City and Chelsea wanted to buy players because obviously for the Club World Cup. Are you at all worried? So Faisal, I'll come to you first. Are you at all worried by the lack of activity as of today, which is the 16th of June?
No, I mean, come on. We're 10 days into the window. This is day 11. And actually it's quite a longer window. Normally the window opens, 14th June, 15th June. So for us, we're just getting started. And actually the Zubimendi deal, I think Arsenal would have closed sooner. It was Real Sociedad who had said, basically, can you help us out for accounting purposes in July? There's plenty of time. Mate, if it was 10 days to go and we're sat here and we're being linked with Ollie Watkins as a last gasp saloon, then I'd be very nervous. But, so far, Gabriel Magalhaes, contract is done. Coaching staff, contract is done. Contracts are done, sorry. Saliba and Saka, contracts are in the works. Zubimendi looks like he's done. Kepa looks like he's done. We're obviously so much noise around Gyökeres and Šeško. One of them is going to be done. Like, mate, we're moving. And the icing on the cake.
Oh my God, he's found it.
Mate, I'm telling you, just feel it. Oh yes, Alejandro Garnacho. help.
Oh
Anyway,
my God, he's
there's
are
your
you
copyright.
literally
Gone.
the Garnacho army? I mean,
Mate, I'm telling you, you are not ready for the level of content I'm about to release. The propaganda, the PR starts
the
today.
propaganda. Oh, people, you've heard it here first. The propaganda machine starts tomorrow.
You know what? I'm just going to will it into happening. Bah! There you go.
Oh dear, Joe. Same question to you. Are you at all worried by the lack of action right now, or are you just keep it calm?
I don't know how to follow that, to be honest. I'm
no, have you got a recording that you're going to play now?
Am I worried? No. I understand why people are, given what's gone on before with our club and our history of transfers. But no, I'm not worried. I like to think we might have used that first mini window, if you like, as getting things in order, getting things in place so that when the window obviously opens today, we're ready to go. Sounds like that's what they've done for Kepa. Sounds like they've done for Zubimendi. Tonight, we're kind of hearing that's what might be happening with Hato. Like I said, Sesco Jokerez, one of them will hopefully be coming in. So no, not. I'd be more worried if I hadn't heard anything. But like I said, I think it sounds like, and I'm hopeful that we've used that first mini window as a let's get things ready, and then when the window opens properly, we're ready to go. And by the sounds of it, we could be in a potentially quite strong position with a few much needed transfers. What about you, Yem? Are you sceptical? I know you're Mr. Positive all the time, but how are you feeling?
No, I'm calm about this one. I mean, again, like you boys have already said, we're not even at the start. We've only just started the window, really. There was obviously a small window for the Club World Cup, but this is the start of the actual window. It feels like bits are in place. I think there is a clamour for the striker to be done as soon as possible. I would like the striker to be done as soon as possible, but I think if you're panicking already, then you're going to have serious anxiety through the window, because Arsenal don't do. They work at their own pace, and I don't mind that, because obviously we want the best deal. We are not a club with infinite wealth and can do what a Man City do, which is to just buy, just put the money on the table straight away and just say, there it is, just deal with that. We have to be constructive with our deals. So I think the patience is required. I think we need to trust in the personnel that we have. Andrea Berta is very experienced, Mikel, and the board as well. So I will judge them at the end of the window. If we get to a stage where we're looking at like a Raheem Sterling type signing, then I think we do have to ask the question about what is going on internally, because it seems like we're disjointed. We were disjointed last year. We're disjointed again. So I think a bit of calm is required. But I think we're going to wrap it up here, because we've been going for 1.5 hours, which seems to be our running time. Faisal, thank you so much for joining us. I really do appreciate you taking the time on which you have a busy schedule, not only the daily grind, but daily life as well. We both know we've got daily life. Obviously, if you have been living under a rock, Faisal's LatteFirm YouTube channel is sensational. The content there is top notch. Go and find it on YouTube. Thank you again, Faisal.
Pleasure,
apart from the Garnacho propaganda, everything else was fine. But I have to cut out these bits. I'm going to be cutting out.
I think I'm all in now into Garnacho.
Oh God!
I've convinced myself. So be ready, Twitter. Be ready. I'm out.
I'm going to put this video. I'm going to put the music video up, and we're going to see how much.
Yeah, I think. No, honestly, it's a pleasure to be. Am I your first guest?
Yeah, you are. Of course, you were. You were going to be. You were going to look.
That's amazing. No, I'm really pleased. Mate. Some of the bits, some of the stuff that I've already seen. The first podcast was fantastic. The graphics,
episode 2 tomorrow. Episode 2
plans that you've got for TikTok and all your AI usage are really phenomenal. I'm taking notes, boys. But no, it's been a pleasure, and I can't wait to see what you guys do, man, and how you grow.
Thank you so much, Joe. Thank you as always.
Pleasure, Insightful. Again, thank you very much. Very kind of you to grace us with your heritage on this channel.
Heritage, which is
blossoming channel.
McSauce and Garnacho propaganda. I didn't think we'd see it on this channel, but here we are. No, but thank you everyone for listening. I really do hope you like it. If you do like it, please subscribe to us. We're on all the audio platforms now. After a few technical issues, we are now on all the audio platforms. And keep an eye out for us. We're going to keep coming with the content during the summer. Hopefully we'll get Faisal on again, not for more propaganda, I promise you, but we
when we sign Garnacho.
Oh God!
I'll
If we
do the
do, look,
breakdown.
I will. Okay, I will promise this. I will make a promise now, and Joe.
Buy me a shirt with Garnacho on the back.
No, I'm not going to do that. God no, I have some self dignity. If we sign Garnacho, we will do another podcast with him where you can go nuts on.
I will be busy on that day, I'm afraid. Just as a heads up.
Your co-host, you can't be busy on this one. You pay for propaganda. If he signs, we will do one with him. Please don't. But we'll see. Thank you everyone for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Red Lines Half Spaces. So bye for now.